Learn English through story. The Price of Indifference. In a small town nestled at the edge of a dense forest, there lived a man named Victor. He was a quiet, solitary figure who kept mostly to himself. Victor ran a modest grocery store on the town's main street, and while he was known for his reliability and good business sense, he was not known for his kindness. People would come and go, and Victor would exchange only the fewest words necessary to complete the transaction. Victor was a man who valued efficiency and disliked anything that he considered a waste of time. Over the years, he had become indifferent to the needs and troubles of others. He had convinced himself that as long as he ran his business well and lived within the rules, that was all that mattered. One autumn evening, as the sun was setting and the last customer had left, Victor was preparing to close the shop when he heard a knock on the door. He frowned. It was after hours, and he disliked interruptions. He opened the door slightly to see a young woman standing there, her clothes wet from the rain that had started to fall. Her face was pale, and she looked tired, but there was a quiet determination in her eyes. "Please, sir, could you help me?" she asked, her voice soft and weary. "My car broke down just outside of town, and my phone's dead. I need to make a call." Victor glanced at the clock. It was late, and he was eager to go home. "I'm sorry, but the shop is closed," he said curtly. "There's a payphone down the road." The young woman hesitated, then nodded, clearly disappointed. "Thank you," she murmured and turned to leave. As she walked away into the rain, Victor felt a brief pang of guilt, but he quickly brushed it aside. "It's not my responsibility," he told himself. "People need to take care of themselves." He closed the shop, locked the door, and went home to his small, tidy house on the outskirts of town. That night, he had trouble sleeping. The image of the woman standing in the rain kept drifting into his thoughts. But Victor was a man of habit, and he pushed the uneasy feelings down, telling himself that she would have found help elsewhere. The next morning, as Victor was opening the shop, he overheard a conversation between two of his regular customers. They were talking about a young woman who had been found unconscious by the side of the road. Apparently, she had tried to walk to the payphone but had collapsed due to exhaustion and the cold. Victor felt a cold chill run down his spine. He knew it was the same woman he had turned away the night before. He wanted to ask what had happened to her, but his pride kept him silent. Instead, he listened intently as the customers continued their conversation. "She was taken to the hospital," one of the customers said. "She's going to be okay, but it was close. If someone hadn't found her when they did, who knows what could have happened." Victor's hands shook slightly as he placed a loaf of bread on the shelf. He tried to focus on his work, but the words kept echoing in his mind. If someone hadn't found here a broken bar. The day passed slowly, and Victor couldn't shake the feeling of guilt that hung over him like a dark cloud. He knew he had been wrong, but he didn't know how to make it right. He wanted to believe that it was a one-time mistake, that it didn't reflect who he was, but deep down, he knew that his indifference had become a part of him. For the next few days, Victor avoided thinking about the incident. He buried himself in his work, trying to forget the young woman and the choice he had made. But the town was small, and news traveled fast. Soon, everyone was talking about the kind stranger who had found the woman and taken her to the hospital. The story was told with admiration, and people speculated on who the mysterious Good Samaritan might be. Victor found himself feeling a mix of shame and jealousy. He was ashamed because he knew he could have been the one to help her, and jealous because someone else had done what he had failed to do. He had always thought of himself as a good, responsible man, but now he was faced with the uncomfortable truth. He had become so wrapped up in his own world that he had forgotten how to care for others. A week later, Victor decided to visit the hospital. He told himself it was just to see how the woman was doing, but in reality, he was hoping to find some peace for his troubled conscience. When he arrived, he asked the nurse at the front desk about the young woman who had been brought in recently. The nurse smiled and pointed him toward a room down the hall. Victor hesitated outside the door, his heart pounding. He wasn't sure what he would say, or even if he should be there. But before he could turn away, the door opened, and there she was, the same young woman from that rainy night. Her face was still pale, but she looked much better. She smiled when she saw him. "Hello," she said softly. "Can I help you?" Victor swallowed hard. "A broken bar. I came to see how you were doing," he stammered. "I heard about what happened, and I wanted to make sure you were okay." The woman nodded, her expression kind. "Thank you. I'm much better now, thanks to the person who found me. I'm very grateful." Victor felt a lump in his throat. "A broken bar. I was the one who turned you away that night," he admitted, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I should have helped you. I don't know why I didn't." The young woman looked at him with surprise, but there was no anger in her eyes. Instead, she seemed to understand. "We all make mistakes," she said gently. "But you are here now, and that means something." Victor felt a wave of relief wash over him. He knew that he couldn't change the past, but maybe, just maybe, he could learn from it. From that day on, Victor made a conscious effort to change. He started paying attention to the people around him, offering help where he could, and taking the time to listen. He became known not just for his reliability, but for his kindness as well. And while he could never erase the memory of the night he turned away a woman in need, he found peace in knowing that he was no longer the man who would make that choice. The moral of Victor's story is simple: it's never too late to change. Indifference is a choice, but so is kindness. In a world where it's easy to turn away, choosing to care can make all the difference. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.